Hi everyone and welcome back. I wanted to give a quick tip today here on Monday just related to some questions that have been coming in about Canvas. And so these are two simple tips that I think could just save you a lot of time in the end. This specifically relates to messages you might be receiving from students saying that your modules aren't published or aren't appearing in your class. Again, we really recommend that you take your pages and you hide them from your students just so students have a clear roadmap moving through your class, which happens via the module structures. If you want to hide those pages or anything on the navigation menu, keep in mind to go to your settings at the bottom, go over two tabs to navigation, drag anything from here down to here, and as it says clearly, these will be hidden from students. You should always hit save at the bottom if you do that reordering of items. So let's look at modules and talk about this issue and the quick solution to it. So it's important to keep in mind that when you set up a module, whether or not a student can view that module is dependent on a variety of factors. If the module is not published, which we'll talk about in a second, the student will not be able to see the module content, including the pages within it, which is in my class here, all those items here and here. Most of us have headers, and these really are used to identify the main content of that area. Some of us do this by weeks. Others perhaps do it by some other category or level of content that you've identified as an instructor to be meaningful to you and perhaps easy for your students to understand. If you ever create a module, keep in mind that you can add a lock until date, which would determine when that module would open. So if you set that for the 19th, and if today is the 14th, then the student couldn't view that until the time in which it opens. So that's one reason why a student wouldn't be able to view your module content. A second would be if you have a prereq. I know some of the folks teaching business like to have prerequisites. So for example, you might say before students start with week 1 module, they first need to click through and complete whatever is required in the Getting Starting module, which is right up here. Now, that really depends on what you have set up in those modules. So if you have a quiz, obviously the students have to complete the quiz until they meet that prereq. Or in my case, if these are just items for the students to read through and understand, then they would simply have to click through all these. We obviously can't control how quickly students read particular content in our class, but it does give us a sense at least that students went through that. So a lock until or prerequisite will always then leave the potential that something in your class will not be visible to students until they see that. So my personal recommendation on this is that if you're using lock untils or prereqs, you definitely let your students know about this so they're not confused. So that is reason 1, if you will, as to why something may not show up. Now, reason 2 doesn't have a clear pedagogical reason like this last one, where you want a student to not deal with material until a particular date that you've defined or until that student has completed a skill set in previous modules or assignments. This reason is simply not publishing the module content. So let me give you an example of this. I'll go to my week 11. Now, if I look at week 11, you could see I have green check marks. So on the surface, it might look like this is visible to students. You could see there are 3 green check marks. So to check this, let's keep in mind we can go back to our home page, and I really recommend, this is my other big tip today, is to utilize the student view in Canvas. So I will use this menu here, and it's one of our lesser used menus, at least it is for me. You might find Student Analytics and some other info here quite useful, setting your home page as well, importing content into Canvas, and so forth. But this is really where you want to click, Student View. And the minute you do that, you'll get this pink bar around the screen, and that indicates you're in student view. This is only going to show you then what students can see at that point in time in your class. And I say point in time because if you have module content or assignments that open later, the students won't be able to see it, and thus you won't be able to see that in student view. But let me go back to my modules and look at this issue with week 11. So I'll scroll to the bottom and I'll say it should be there. It's not. I only see up through week 10. What's the reason for that? So to look at this and problem solve this, I have to leave student view. And as I do that, the pink bar goes away and I have my full privileges, whatever are defined for me as an instructor at the institution. So here is the issue. Look right down here. Even though it appears as if this module is published because the content below the week 11 header, those content items are published, because I don't have this hit published, that again, always look for that green check mark, that's the reason it was invisible to students. So just to verify, and again, I'm really recommending this, use Student View because it shows you the version that the students are seeing. So when I go back to Student View and click on my modules, you'll then see that module 11, week 11, is now available because I had that publish indicator checked on my class. So I'll leave Student View here and then go back to my modules. So anytime you see this issue come up, if you get a message from students, one of the quickest things you could do is click on Student View, and if the issue is with modules and the lack of visibility of specific modules, 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10, you'll discover that immediately because you'll go to Student View, as I did, see that week 11 was blank, leave Student View, go to Instructor View, and then discovered, as I did, that this was not checked to publish. So always important to remember that. And just as a reminder, if I click Publish here, and if I unpublish these 3 items, we'll just take a quick look at that too. I'll go back again to Student View to really check my work, if you will, and then click back on my module structure. You're going to just see the header on week 11 and the invisible content pages. Once I leave Student View, it should take me right back to my modules. I scroll back down and I hit those as publish, and those will indeed appear again. So really easy to remember that. As you can see here, if I don't have my week 10 video yet, I maybe want that unpublished because if I publish it, the student will see it if they work ahead and they'll wonder, where's the video? So anytime I want to save that information for later, I can always leave it as unpublished, as I've done for these videos. Once I complete those videos, I will then have those available to the student, and I'll need to remember to go back and publish. So again, anytime you see that grayed out circle, it means unpublished, and then if you see the green check mark, you're good to go. So I recommend today going back over the content for any of your modules and checking to make sure that everything that you want to show, saying you're getting started if you have that, and your week 1 if you have that, is indeed signified with a published green check. So that is it for today. Continue to send me your questions and concerns, and these generally are global ones, and therefore I can create a video like this one and get the information out to you. So good luck with week 1. Have a good time with your students. As I always say, take some time for yourself, avoid burnout, and get that necessary rest and relaxation and de-stressing that's important in these times. So good luck, and I'll talk to you again soon.